Hello dear viewers, today is the 7th of March and in my first article I want to immediately answer a lot of questions that I am asked and at the same time explain a very important issue. Exactly how is the tactics of the defense of the country built by the armed forces of Ukraine and why is it so important? Because not understanding how it all works at the simplest level brings confusion to the ranks. How to relate this or that strike, counterattack, what caused it and when will it all end in this or that region. I'll tell you everything in a few minutes. Obviously, not being able to actively defend the entire country and realizing that war is more than likely, the Kiev leadership was developing defense tactics. The general step of the armed forces of Ukraine and already recent battles indicated the armed forces of Ukraine have decided to create a network of defense centers along the perimeter of the front, which must necessarily include armored mechanized groups, which must include at least one tank company and one mechanized battalion, which could rely on this base to fight in full encirclement. There are several tasks for such fortified areas. First, if the enemy attacks, fight to the end, trying to delay his advance as long as possible. If the enemy bypassed and went further, or even destroyed this entire grouping, then, relying on the local intelligence system, which I spoke about last night, inflict short, sharp blows on the rear of the enemy and retreat to their original lines. It is for this reason that all the counterattacks that the detachments from Nikolaev make today are so short and in general have no strategic consequences. Because if this group is kept even for an extra half an hour or an hour, it will almost certainly be defeated from the air. But this tactic has both pros and cons. It is clear that in the short term it works very well, but real military equipment is not a virtual game. It does not have infinite life, infinite motor resources, and also in each battle it receives some kind of damage, or even not in battle, but only when moving. Some repairs can be carried out on site, I mean minor repairs, and already medium and large repairs can only be carried out at a specialized enterprise. It is for this reason that the Russian aerospace forces began to strike at tank repair plants. Realizing if the repair base is destroyed, then the motorcycle group which is based in Nikolaev will sooner or later be depleted and will be forced to go into a dead defense or expose itself to a blow and be defeated. Each battle is the consumption of ammunition as well as the defeat of artillery by counter-battery combat. So when I read Ukrainian social networks that admire this or that counter-operation on the part of this or that defense unit, their delight is understandable, only if they do not understand that this cannot continue indefinitely. What they also don't understand is that once the center of defense falls, the entire defense of that area crumbles like a house of cards. And an example for this is the defense of the city of Kherson. When the central group of the region was defeated, the resistance on the vast territory immediately disappeared, and the Russian army entered the operational space. And resistance disappears when a group in a particular area is tightly blocked, as we see in the example of Chernigov. Why is Russian aviation and artillery shooting so often at Chernigov? Because it is Chernigov that is such a key point of defense. A very powerful armored group is concentrated there, which, if not held in an iron grip, will deliver very significant blows to the Russian rear. And here a clear example is the comparison of two regional centers, Chernigov and Sumy. Chernigov is tightly blocked, hard-shelled, and no one touches Sumy. Once a Russian convoy went there, into the area of the artillery school, cleared everything that was there, and making sure that no serious threat came from the city further, left from there. And the last few airstrikes were, in fact, a warning for local defense. Guys, stop attacking our checkpoints and we won't touch you. Look at Konotop, we reached an agreement here, and everyone lives normally, peacefully and happily. I want to know that the cities that the Russian army does not take, but which are not defense centers, do not have serious military units inside. These cities are absolutely safe for the Russian armed forces. It is for this reason that no one seriously fights at them, and sometimes Russian forces have agreements with those cities. I want to dispel the myth about how certain groups walk in the rear of Russian troops in the Chernigov and Sumy regions. They practically didn't walk anymore. In the early days, if you paid attention, there were isolated cases when there were attacks in one place or another, but today there are practically no attacks. At least I haven't heard of them. And now, understanding how the scheme works, we understand the essence of what is happening at the front. If we look at the large map of Ukraine, it's already obvious that such defense centers have been created in Odessa, Nikolaev and Kherson. The Kherson group was destroyed, and therefore a breakthrough was made to the north of the Nikolaev region. The armed forces of Ukraine were first to form new centers of resistance from the reserve in Kryvyi Rog and in the Yuzhno-Ukrainsk region. 4 days ago, a very powerful armored group was brought into Yuzhno-Ukrainsk, and judging by what we saw in Voznesensk, it was this armored group that delivered short blows in Voznesensk. It did not go further for the reason that it cannot just take it and go further. It can deliver short strikes for 20 or 30 kilometers and quickly return back until it comes under air attack. We figured out the right bank, or go to the left bank. Obviously, the next powerful defense hub is Zaporozhye. As for Guliapole, I haven't yet formed a point of view whether there is a shut-in group there or not. While it is not clear, its actions are not visible. If it is not there, then the city can simply be blocked. If it is there, then it will have to be attacked. I emphasize that I have no data on it yet. Further, the front line passes into the zone where there is a completely different defense structure, and it comes out of it already in the area of the city of Izum. Why is the city of Izum being attacked today? Why are the most powerful, most serious battles going on for it for many days? Not only because it is a communications hub. It is for this reason that Izum was made into a defense node, which Russia simply cannot pass by. That is why today Izum, in fact, is being burned to the ground. And unfortunately, the same fate will befall any city, which, being a defense node, will be the most important strategic point on the map. Therefore, dear viewers who live in such cities, think about it very seriously. The question is not who is good or evil. There is such a thing as military necessity. In this case, the capture of the city of Izum is a military necessity for both sides. One side wants to keep him at any cost, and the other side wants to take him at any cost. Taking into account the fact that Izum has almost been taken by Russian troops, only focal resistance remained there, and taking into account the capture of Kharkov, the armed forces of Ukraine are trying to form the same defense center in the Chuguyev area. As a result of the breakthrough of Russian troops into the southern region of Kharkov, it is obvious that such defense centers are being formed today in the area of Lozovo and Krasnograd, and according to the data that I received, the Krasnograd defense center is being formed at the expense of the resources of the Kharkov defense center. There is a redistribution of power. In no case should this knob of defense be handed over to official Kiev. For it will be a major strategic and political defeat. Poltava is the same defense node, which has not been fought yet. By the way, please note that the Russian troops stopped at about 70-80 kilometers from Poltava, exactly at the distance at which the armored group from Poltava can no longer go, in case not to be attacked by a Russian aircraft. It is for this reason that there is a relative calm here. Neither side attacks or sorties. It is also obvious that such a node should have been formed taking into account its strategic importance in the Pyryatyn area. Please note that Russian troops do not go to a distance of 80 kilometers to Pyryatyn. Accordingly, the Pyryatyn Defense Center, which has already been created, is still inactive. Given the breakthrough of Russian troops on the outskirts of Kiev, it is very likely that a similar defense center is being formed in the Pereyaslav area. And a new defense center is also being formed in the Fastov area due to the fact that the Russian group bypassed Kiev from the west. I will talk about the battles in this area and other battles in the next issue. It will be devoted to the operational system. While we are considering how the defense system of the armed forces of Ukraine works, the next defense node is Zhytomyr and Korostyn. This is how the defense system of the armed forces of Ukraine along the entire front line looks like at the moment. I really hope that for many of you the meaning of hostilities has become clear. As long as the node of the defense exists, this territory exists. As soon as the defense node falls, on the example of the Kherson region, instantly all resistance in the region disappears. Therefore, the one who tells fairy tales about the most powerful partisan movement in Ukraine, he simply does not understand what is happening. He is just wishful thinking. In fact, this system does not work at all. It works exactly as I explained to you. That's all I wanted to say in this article. I think the next one will already be devoted to military reports for the night and for what will happen before that time. That's all for now. Wait for the next releases. Goodbye.